Hey guys, it's Matt Wenning at WenningStrength.com, and today we are going to talk about health or competing and how they are usually not the same. So I know for a lot of us, we look up to guys that have 900,000 pound deadlifts, world record squats. It could even be professional bodybuilding or figure competitors. But at the end of the day, is this really a goal that we should be utilizing in general population? So let's get to it.
Lately I've been living like I can't take a loss. They ain't wanna help me, that's what made me a boss. You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. We don't give a f, that's what they don't understand. I'm back again like flu season, I broke records while loose leafing. I'm coming down my roof, leaving, don't give a f, I don't care. Did the by my lonesome, no wonder now I'm on one. No shortcuts on that long run, all I really want is my share.
We get this question a lot, and the question really arises is, hey, I want to have six-pack, or I want 20-inch arms, or I want to compete at a bodybuilding show or be a figure competitor. And while all of these goals are amazing, and for some people totally attainable, for a lot of people, in reality, it's just too extreme. And what I'm going to say is a lot of people look up to the pros and the advanced populations like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Ronnie Coleman and all these different figure competitors. But that may not be optimal for general population. Why? Well, for a lot of times it's, one, most people do not have those genetics, right? If you were to see pictures, I remember running into Ronnie Coleman around 1994, and he already looked like a Mr. America pro bodybuilder, okay? Same thing with Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you saw pictures of him at 16 and 17 years old, he already had a certain level of genetics. I'm actually going to go back to one of my old friends that's been friends with me a long time, Mike O'Hearn. Now, everybody gives slack to Mike O'Hearn for, using drugs and telling people he's natural and whatever. Whatever that case may be, go back and look at pictures of him at 18 years old, and you're going to realize that you probably don't have Mike O'Hearn's genetics. At the end of the day, we have to be very careful that we're not praising someone for their hard work. We're praising someone for their genetic prowess. And that becomes a huge issue, because I do feel that all of us can look better and be better at anything that we choose to do. But to be the best in the world or compete at a pro level, you're going to have some level of genetics in order to do so. So sometimes utilizing a training protocol that was set up by a professional athlete is not always the best way to go. The next thing is, don't get me wrong, most people need to be stronger. But how strong is strong enough? And I get this all the time. The reason that I push firemen to be so strong is because our average population weight is fucking out of control. What does this mean? This means that, even in the fire service, we test most testing protocols with a 165 to 185 pound dummy. They have to drag it around 100 feet. The point is there are 8th graders and 7th graders that weigh that now.
I'm on Atkins.
What?
I mean, a small man as a senior in high school, a 200-pound man is not a large man. In 1965, that would have been a massive guy. So the point is that we are changing so much in our body size, not only in America, but around the world. And so with my firemen, I want them to be stronger. But in general population, if you're just looking for health, how strong is strong enough? Well, the answer, in my personal opinion, is this. You need to bench press a little bit over your body weight. Probably if you're a 180 to 200 pound man, you need to be able to bench press 225, maybe 225 for a handful of reps. So a little bit over 1 times body weight. For females, I would say a 0.75 times body weight bench would be extraordinary for the average person, right? So if you're a 175 pound or 150 pound girl, if you can bench anything close to 135, you're amazingly strong compared to the average person. The problem is if you go above these particular ranges, you may be increasing more mileage if you're not doing it correctly. So what you find is a lot of people that are really putting their mindset on strength, what I have found is that for a lot of people that don't have a high education, they don't tend to use a lot of variability in their movements. They tend to stick to the same movements over and over again, eventually causing a lot of mileage issues. So although I'm a huge proponent and fan of squatting, deadlifting, and bench pressing, I feel that for the average person, they don't use enough variation in those movements, therefore can create more problems than good. So how strong is strong enough? Well, we talked about the bench. In the squat, I would say anything around 2 times body weight on squat and 2 times body weight on deadlift is probably going to be more than optimal for health. Now, if you have performance enhancing goals, like you want to compete in powerlifting, bodybuilding, etc., those strength parameters may have to change drastically. But at the end of the day, for overall health, I think pushing beyond those particular points, and don't get me wrong, I am a professional powerlifter and I broke multiple world records. But at the end of the day, I'm not so sure that pushing those particular things were in the best interest of my health. Okay, so for the average person that's just looking for health benefits, those would be my particular parameters at the extreme level. The next thing and last thing that I need to talk about is insane goals can often take insane diets. Okay, so what you start seeing, a lot of these people running around at 4, 5, 6, 8, 10% body fat, they're eating in ways that the average person just cannot adapt to. How do I know this? Well, I've trained thousands of military people, hundreds of firemen, and how many of them actually do you think stick to a strict diet for any extended period of time? I'm going to tell you, a very, very small percentage. I have found that for most people, their aesthetic goals are usually not obtained because of what they're doing in the kitchen, not what they're doing in the gym. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that what they're doing in the gym is correct either. But if your goal is overall health and looks, then your diet is going to have to basically present that. The problem is that most of the people that we idolize in magazines are taking diuretics, right? They're doing extreme dieting, and they really only look like that for a percentage of the year. And that's where we have to be very careful. You know, a lot of these pro bodybuilders will take pictures and use them for the whole year when they've only cut up for about 4 weeks in that entire year. They've just changed facial hair or whatever. Now let's look at an average diet. I know that everybody looks at like Hafthor Bjorgensen, which is a great friend of mine and person I've done grocery shopping for. So if you haven't seen that, watch the other YouTube video on shopping for the mountain. But the issue is that I watched Hafthor eating 2,000 to 2,500 calories every 3 to 4 hours the entire time he was awake, and sometimes having to get up and eat in the middle of the night. He was literally choking down his food during the Arnold Classic, and that's what he had to do to weigh 450 pounds and be pretty solid at that weight. The average person would never be able to eat that much. I don't give a shit what Michael Phelps says or any of these other people. You are not eating the amount that Hafthor was eating at 450 pounds. It's just nearly impossible. I'll give you an example. When I was weighing 315 in my competitive years, when I was at my biggest, I wouldn't say my healthiest, but my biggest, I was eating anywhere from 8,500 to 10,000 calories a day, and I was sick and tired of everything I ate, including even junk food, meaning that I was pushing my limits, raising my blood pressure, and all kinds of other shit just to be big enough to compete and break world records at the 308. So the point is that you guys have to understand also that a lot of these pro bodybuilders are getting a lot of big-time kidney issues, which is why you see a lot of guys dying, in my personal opinion. You see a lot of guys dying from renal failure because their body fat percentage gets so low it starts actually cutting off their kidney function. So for a lot of these guys that we idolize in the Olympia, for example, a lot of those people don't know, but a lot of those guys are on dialysis the last couple of weeks because their kidneys are kaput. So you need a certain amount of body fat to be strong and to be healthy. I would say for females, going below 15% body fat is probably not very healthy. And for males, going anything below 12 or 10% body fat is going to be about the limit that you're crossing for health. Remember that anything at an extreme level is not healthy, even if it seems healthy on the front, right? We think, well, this guy's kind of fat and this guy's super lean. This guy must be healthier. Not internally. Sometimes to get that lean, you have to do unhealthy things, which are not very, very good for long-term health. So I hope this helps the general population understand that maybe get your goals in check a little bit, and also remember that some of these things are more obtainable in a healthier scenario if your timeline is longer. What does this mean? This means that if you're trying to get lean in 3 weeks, you're already going to do crash-style dieting that's going to cause a lot of metabolic issues. If you're trying to get leaner in the next 2 to 3 years, now you have a really good plan that the body will adapt to slowly. So I guess the biggest point I have in this video is that strength takes time, getting lean takes time, and changing lifestyles takes time. Don't look at it as a diet or a training regimen. It should be a lifestyle change. So if you need more help with this, go on to the website at wenningstrength.com. Take a look at the manuals. Take a look at the nutrition manual. And if you're super serious, hop on to online coaching, Patreon, or Train Heroic, where we help you take the guesswork out of what you're doing and do it the healthiest way possible. Thanks.
Lately I've been living like I can't take a loss. They ain't wanna help me, that's what made me a boss. You can't kill my confidence. It's new season, I broke records while loose leaf, and I'm coming now.